Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a fourth shift fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the fourth shift fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of Fourth Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it. This should be a lot, but I was on the wrong internet in the house, so I was pulling off a faraway one.
It's just two idiots trying to do all this for a cup of coffee.
Pretty much. I mean, I made the mistake of Best Buy asking one of the teenagers there, like, hey, can you show me what headphones have the best mic in them? And it was immediately, like you talked about that Jimmy Fallon character with...
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, I'm like, which one of these is like, well, you're going to want to spend more than $200. Let me just tell you something about AirPods. I'm like, oh, fuck. This is going to be, I'm not going to understand anything you're saying. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just get these ones. And, hey, I need a cable. And he's like, what kind of cable? I'm like, a USB-C. But then my computer doesn't have a USB-C, so I need an adapter to go from C, just a regular, whatever USB is. He's like, an A? I'm like, sure, man. Whatever looks like a thumb drive. And he's like, okay. And like walked me over there, and he's like, here's one that just doesn't need an adapter. It's just a USB-C to regular USB. I'm like, cool. And I picked up the wrong one. He's like, no, not that one. The one I pointed at. I'm like, okay, dude, sorry. I'm like, do you have the... I'm like, so I just need one more connection in case this doesn't work. And I was trying to describe it, and I had to pull up a YouTube video to reference the name. I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have pulled this up. And as I was trying to explain it to him, he gets on his phone and starts like scrolling. I'm like, I'm good, man. I'm sorry. I'm like wasting your time. He's like, all right, have a good day. I'm like, ah, shit. So insurmountable odds to get this thing going today, but I think we might have it.
We've done it.
We've done it. So I wanted to talk about gym etiquette because I have another story about that. And I have a couple personal training clients coming over now. And when I told you I was ready to open up the gym to some other people, you asked where the bathroom was going to be or where we're going to pee. And I was like, in the gutter, I don't care. And so I had one of my personal training clients over, and we went through a little finisher complex, and we got done. And he goes, hey, do you have a bathroom? I was like, yeah. I'm like, are you going to throw up? Because he was kind of like, he was working. It was hot outside. I'm like, are you going to throw up in the bathroom? He's like, no. I'm like, just throw up in the bushes or something, man. Just go in the culvert down there. Just throw up in the sewer. I don't care. He's like, no, I don't have to throw up. I'm like, are you going to take a dump? He's like, yeah, my stomach hurts. I'm like, nope, go home. I'm like, you're not... And I was walking to the door, like walking through the garage, asking him when he was going to throw up. I'm like, are you going to take a dump? He's like, yeah, my stomach's killing me. I'm like, you can leave 5 minutes early and go home and poop, or you can just suffer through it, but you're not going in my house sweating like that to sit on my toilet in front of my kids. And he's like, understandable. I'm like, you want to leave? He's like, yeah, I got to go. I'm like, all right, see you, man. So, Katie was actually gone. She took the kids for a walk, I think, like that. And she was walking back up the driveway right as he was like pulling down the block away. And I was like, dude, that would have been murderous timing if he was just burning a mule in there. And she walks in with the kids, and like he walks out a sweaty mess, like it's just destroyed. I was like,
hey, Katie.
Yeah. And he's actually never met her before. Like, this giant sweaty guy's gonna be wrecking Nathan's bathroom downstairs. And
light a match in there,
dude. There's no fan in that one. It's just the window. So it's I'm like, no, you're not gonna walk through my kitchen and the kids' playroom to take
the biggest thing is he probably would not have been able to figure out the lock mechanism you have on the toilet in there. It would have been a calamity.
It's thwarted people who weren't under emotional distress. So yeah, I can only imagine fumbling with that Rubik's Cube when you're
I want to say it probably wasn't the first time, because I think you showed me the first time, but I think the second time I was like, I don't know how to use it. I'm just going to hold it. So like I went in the bathroom and I did like a fake wash my hands and came out. It's like, oh, all right.
Well, I mean, you still touch it. You still got to wash your hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a firm. So that brought up, I just thought, oh my God, that's a good segue into gym etiquette. Like I asked Katie, I'm like, hey, this guy asked to use the bathroom. She's like, no. I'm like, I didn't even tell you what he had to use the bathroom for. She's like, nobody's coming in here to use the bathroom. I'm like, well, he didn't, so you don't have to hate him or anything. But um, she's like, and it just made me think. Like at the gym, I'd be like, yeah, don't go ahead, destroy that thing. We'll have
Yep.
some other coach clean it. And but yeah, unless you can hose yourself off with the hose outside or do whatever you need to do in the bushes, it's not happening at my house with with anybody, including me.
Yep.
So we'll see. That'll have to be in the disclaimer if we start having people over. Is like, one thing you can't do is use the bathroom.
Get your morning poop out of the way.
And that was it. I'm like, did you have some coffee? He's like, yeah, I had some coffee and a banana on the way over. I'm like, well, then it's your own fault. You get to sit in this and learn a lesson then. So
He's not seasoned to work out whilst drinking coffee yet.
no, he's working on it. We're callousing. We're doing the full body callousing phase right now. We're acclimating to exertion. So with that, what do you think about gym etiquette? Because we had, nearly every conceivable situation pop up in the gym. What pops in your head first?
I mean, LGN, by the time we got to the end, we had the clients whipped into probably the best etiquette possible. Like, no, I would say the employees left way more mess than the actual client left.
Sure.
But they knew, and I was pretty over the top with it. Like each power rack had a set amount of weights that was supposed to be on it and where they were supposed to be,
Yeah.
and the bars had specific location. Everything had its place, and so the clients were really good about cleaning up their stuff afterwards. I will say that the fire department is amongst the worst places I've ever been in terms of etiquette, in terms of at least, and I guess I should go back. My first thought on it is equipment stowage as to where it's supposed to go back to,
Yeah.
and whether you put it where it's supposed to go or where you don't. And the fire department for sure is the worst offender of any place that I've been at.
By far the worst. I mean, I remember when I was at your station, there was a guy who would always use the same two dumbbells, and he would always put them on top of the dumbbell rack, like as if he was going to walk in at any moment and use them. But they're like 35s or 40s or something like that, and you would lift them and put them on top of like the 5s and 10s and then leave them there.
Mm.
And so I found interesting and creative ways to thwart his dumbbell usage. Like I hit him one time, and then another time I put them all out of order. And so when he went to go grab his 235s, it was like a 15 and a 20 or something like that. And then I started weaving like the bands in and out of them, or stuffing the foam roller in them, because the foam roller would like wedge in between the dumbbell ends and the handle. And damned if every day they weren't just back sitting on top of the dumbbell rack again. Like nothing
Yep.
stopped this guy, and he made it as much of a game as I did, I suppose. But God, it is absolutely miserable just cleaning up after people at the fire department with that stuff, and just wiping machine, like the treadmill or anything like that, is just destroyed. Like
Yeah, our step mill is consistently disgusting.
it looks like the alien like drooled on it. There's like acid marks down the sides of it and stuff.
Yeah.
Ugh,
hmm
disgusting sweat. That's
One
funny.
of my favorite things to do is I actually like there's things that get left out, and it's like recreating like a murder scene. Like you look and be like, what was going on here? Like trying to figure out how it was being used. And it was like, I think I sent you one a little bit ago that was like the J hooks for the barbell were probably set at like 7 feet,
Yeah.
and then the barbell was on it. And I'm like, well, what can you be doing with the barbell there? And the pull-up bars are like 6 inches above that. So
Yeah.
it's not like you were doing it for pull-ups. I'm like, what is going on?
God, dude, it's funny you can go right to equipment. That would make sense being a gym owner and all. I went right towards behavior. Like, well, the first thing I went to was when I was coaching, and the inability of people. I don't mind if you talk when I'm like leading a warm up or talk whenever, but the inability for people to talk and have a conversation, but also then just move and like do what I'm asking them to do, was so frustrating. Like you tell them like, yeah, we're just going to do ankle walks to the 10-yard mark. And that's all you got to do is tune in for 5 seconds while I say that, and then keep on your conversation about whatever. But man, you get people that just have their personal conversations, and then they'd have to stop after everybody else is moving and ask you, what are we doing and how far? And you're like, God, you just listen for 2 seconds, and then you can
Yep.
keep talking about whatever I don't care about, but God, just pay attention for a hot second. And it was consistent through the entire warm up or the entire class. It wasn't like, oh, I'll pay attention now. Like every single cue and prompt and movement had to be repeated for
Right.
that person, which would drive me crazy.
Well, and going off of that, the next step of that is you're like, well, fine, talk. Then you won't know what's going on, and that's fine. But then then you set everyone loose, and it's like the entire first complex. You have to answer how many reps everyone's doing, like 17 times, and it's like,
Yeah,
guy, I would have just told him to shut up.
I know. So you kind of screw yourself into more work by not being a jerk, by not just addressing it and telling them to be quiet. There was one time
Right.
I ridiculed somebody because they were trying to do pull-ups or something like that while I was demoing something like that. And I was like, go sit in the corner on your hands if you can't sit still and listen to me for 30 seconds while I show people how to do a back squat. Like, get out of here. And
Yep.
that resulted in a conversation with that person afterwards because they were not appreciative of my approach. But, I mean, good Lord, man, just chill out for a second. Then go put more effort towards your workout and less towards being a weirdo. I don't know. What personnel issues come to mind first?
Personnel issues.
Or I should say clientele issues, not personnel issues.
Client issues. I think talking was the worst one, and that was a hard one because I also understand that that's we talked about that's people's third space, and sometimes that's their circle of friends that they only get to see for 1 or 2 hours a week,
Mhm.
and so I started getting to the point where I was a little mindful of that, and it wasn't taking it as an insult to me as much as they were just someplace they wanted to be and happy to be there and doing their thing type thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think so. The phone was always a big one for me. It's
Oh yeah.
and I know we have a couple clients that come to mind with that, but um, taking out and scrolling through, and it's like you just want to walk over and snap that thing in half because in 10 seconds there's going to be a question about what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, but etiquette wise, I gotta say, like for a long time, the culture that we created at LGN, like it just didn't have a lot of people etiquette. I mean, people cleaned up their sweat, for the most part. They
Yeah.
were respectful of people's space. Um, like very rarely did I run into anything where towards the end where there was client conflicts of any sort that really needed to like be addressed.
Yeah. Yeah. We were fortunate that we don't have the typical like export problems of people. Well, there was a learning curve to everything, right? Like people would come in initially and maybe, I don't know. I just thought of one that I know you'll go nuts on. Drop weights, like drop dumbbells after a heavy set, or take off their shirt when they have to think they have to take their shirt off to work
Yeah.
out. A big one for you, well, for me too, by proxy, was dropping the barbells.
Yeah, I hated that. Even to this day, that's just mega cringe for me.
Yeah.
And people obviously there's a lot of people, and so we'll just go back. This is barbells void of bumper plates.
Yeah.
So if you're uh, unloading the barbell, it's on the ground, and you're unloading it, and you pull the weight off, and you just let the bar ping off the ground. Or if you have metal plates on it, God forbid, and you drop it.
Yeah.
Um,
And ping is a
but those are,
very like conservative word. It's more like a car crash that happens and just
yeah,
yeah. It's,
it's the worst noise probably I would rather not hear that noise than somebody like be like, ow, like I could deal with that.
oh, my calf.
But,
like it's fine.
yeah, but uh, no, I think people just obviously they're not making the purchase of it, but I think they fail to realize how expensive barbells are,
Yeah.
and so um, I usually give everyone a pass in the beginning and kind of pull them off to the side, but repeat offenders feel the wrath on that one
Yeah.
very quickly.
Well, the barbells are designed to do a very specific thing. They have to rotate depending on what you're using them for. So the more
Right.
you clang that stuff around in there, the less chance they have to do their job successfully. And like I know people have referenced, there's always the videos of like the Asian Olympic lifters just ditching the bars from overhead, like empty bars, or just standing there and dropping them. And
Mhm.
they're like, well, what about these guys? I'm like, those are free to them. Like
Yeah.
those aren't their barbells. And that barbell is probably just a practice one that they don't use ever again besides dropping it. And so, yeah, that stuff gets lost in context, but dropping weights,
Here's
dropping
one.
barbells. Ugh.
Fingernails. Man, I tell you,
Finding
uh,
fingernails.
finding fingernails in the turf has got to be like the grossest thing ever.
Like peeled,
Uh,
like peeled fingernails, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I also remember the
And-
time when we found like several press-on nails. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
and that's a pretty obvious one when people like, you know, oh, this is me. Like, okay,
let me see
you
your
got these
hands.
eagles, you got these eagles claws on your hands. I'm pretty sure, and one's missing. I'm pretty sure it's yours.
Oh, gross. I didn't know that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that happens at the fire department too. To just in fairness, that's not just a private gym thing. There's fire department fingernails all over the place. Now, of course, that's all over the fire station as well. But
Oh, I've thrown out
uh,
several pairs of nail clippers at the fire station. Anything that belongs in the bathroom that makes its way out to not the bathroom is immediately discarded by me. No matter, like, even if I think it's the person that I'm working with using it, it's history.
yeah,
It's just not that this. It's your home to an extent, but it's also not your home. So keep your nasty crap in the bathroom or hide it or something. But yeah, fingernails was a gross one. Hair in the turf was gross.
yeah.
Um, God,
All right,
yeah.
here we go. Now we're going on. Now, I said a couple minutes ago that there weren't a lot of things, but there are.
Okay.
So,
Turns out there are.
footwear, footwear. So, at the gym, I hated when people would come in and they would, like in the winter, and they wouldn't bring a change of shoes.
Yeah.
So they're doing like, okay, and we had a ton of matting, like weather mats leading up to, uh, the actual workout space. But then when people would come in and they would like continue to dry their feet on the turf, like,
Oh yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
was that was fire in my eyes.
That's a tough one.
Um,
Yeah.
but at the station, two things. I hate when people wear their duty boots into the workout room because
Okay.
like who knows where that those have been.
You know
And
exactly where they've
now
been.
like I'm gonna be, yeah, well, exactly. And now I'm gonna be doing push-ups, or something in your boot dust. And the tracks are pretty obvious too because you can see them all over like the mats that we provide and everything. It's,
Yeah.
it's a pretty crystal clear footprints because you had to walk all over this mat instead of walking around it. Um, but yeah, that especially work. That one's a killer for me. Just put your socks on or bring a pair of gym shoes in there, but don't go on the treadmill with your duty boots just because you're too lazy to take them off.
Right. Yeah, that did spiral quickly. I like that though.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm done. I'm kidding. There's probably be more.
there's tons more. There's tons more. I mean, you mentioned the phone thing. That was a funny one because we had people who were. I mean, it's all relative what people think is important, right? But we had people that were tied to their phone for work and would be very respectful and very fast with it. Then we had people that were who said they were tied to their phone for work, but you catch them scrolling at any given time with non-work related filler. And so it was like, hey man, if this surgeon over here can take 10 minutes out to listen and not check his phone, I'm pretty sure you can not watch cat videos for 5 minutes. So that was a
Yeah,
tricky
and
one.
also like walk away. Like we'd have people that answer their phone and like take like 3 steps away from the group and have a conversation. It's like go away. There's 12,000 square feet around here. Like go find a corner.
So that's part of the learning curve, all that stuff. Another one that was part of the learning curve that I wrote down was standing in front of people while they're lifting. Because that was just,
Mhm.
that's one that you don't know necessarily unless it happens to you or unless you're told not to do it. Because we would approach some really good effort with some people. And it's probably the first time they've ever been feeling that much weight under a barbell or trying to pull that much weight on barbell off the ground. And so they're not able to really like zone into that thing and block everything out, and without fail, it would be like, oh, this person's going to do something, they've never done before, really heavy or PR, and it would attract a little bit of a crowd, the handful of people that were in there. And inevitably one would just stand right in front of that person. And you're almost like the keep back coach in football where you're like trying to pull the people back out of their field of view. Cause it's very distracting. And it's something that unless somebody walks in front of you when you're front squatting between you and the rack, you'll never know how frustrating it is. But that's just one of those things that was a common one for me. I remember is making sure people stayed out of the field of view or didn't walk between the lifter and the power rack or something goofy like that.
Yep.
I mean, all in all, it's every gross thing that you would hope somebody that comes over to your house doesn't do with sweat added to it. So that's
Mhm.
a good way to sum up. So what advice do you have for people that are going to go into a gym? Obviously, everything's been open and back up, and it's going to continue to be more. And I think there's going to be kind of a resurgence of the group class thing. Like I think it's only a natural progression that people will eventually get tired of working out at home and get tired of their Pelotons and whatever else. So I haven't checked in to see what the stats are, but I'm assuming Orange Theory and F45 and all those places are blowing up again. Um, well,
Yeah, I don't know. I've stopped kind of following them, but I just from people that I've talked to, there seems to be people who are who have said, I just can't do working out in my house anymore.
yeah,
And so yeah, I think there will be an uptick back into it again for sure. My recommendation for those people is just leave the facility the way you found it. So if you come in and you're going to foam roll, you can assume that foam roller's clean and in the spot that it's supposed to be. And so when you're done using it, clean it and put it back. And same thing with every other piece of equipment that you touched that day, unless the coaches or the owners or whoever instruct you otherwise. But that's a good place to start. Uh, Typically, most gyms are going to have some sort of uh, self cleaning, not self cleaning, but client expectations for cleaning. And just figure out what those are pretty quick, and even if that's just a bottle of spray and a towel, uh, you know, just do it because even though it doesn't seem like a big deal to you, you don't want. I'm sure that if you walked up to the big sweaty bench that someone's left a sweat angel on, you'd be pretty disgusted by it. So it's just doing the courtesy for the person who's coming in after you the same way you'd want to be done for yourself.
nice. Yeah, I think one of the most valuable things that people can do is probably if you have a friend that's already going to that facility or to whatever you're going to be trying out, go with them and kind of do what they do. Like not to say fall in line or whatever, but read the room and kind of do what they do, and because you are going to kind of enter into not like a team mentality necessarily, but it's a community. So you can go in there guns a blazing, and we've had people come into LGN, and rip their shirt off and start asking for chalk and um, touching the radio and all that stuff. And that's fine. You can do that, but that is going to come with certain reactions to you. So if that's what you want, then go for it. But I would always, when I went into jiu-jitsu or when I went into LGN for the first couple times or whenever I would go into a new gym, it's always like pick out somebody you think is level-headed enough and a good representation and kind of do what they do. And that'll steer you in the right path. If they start cleaning something up, wow, it's a good idea. I should probably do that. Or obviously that's what they value around here. So that can give you some clues on how to act. But yeah, leaving it like you left it or better is always a good idea. I think we also had a number of people in the gym that thought like, well, I'm paying for this place, so I can just abuse the shit out of it and they'll clean up after me, and we will, but it doesn't make us appreciate you.
We're not gonna like you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But it'll get clean.
Whatever service you're paying for, you're gonna get less of it most likely.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go above and beyond for you because that above and beyond effort is going towards cleaning up your mess. So sorry. Anything you want to cut out with? That was pretty good.
No, I think that touched on pretty much everything.
Sweet. I don't know if I'm going to do the asking for coffee stuff anymore. I mean, I'm still going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to announce it. Well, I'll announce it this time. Go buy us some coffee on the 4Shift Fitness website and click the Buy Me a Coffee button if you like what we're talking about. And we'll talk to you guys soon.